What's going on, man?
We are live.
And this is our show outside the music box
Music box.
on Dead Vision Entertainment. And this
I'm
is our guest.
Batgirljamie.
Right on, man.
Josh.
I'm Joshua Danger, and this is our guest.
How's it going, everybody? How you guys doing?
We're doing great, brothers.
He's Rev J Kool.
Yep. Local California punk rock icon, Rev J Kool.
All right, I'm done.
So, what's going on, my brother?
Oh, not a whole lot, man. Just sitting here, getting everything set up for tonight's broadcast in the Electric Church, and getting ready to do my broadcast on LiveMe tonight. So tonight's Flashback Friday. If anybody doesn't have LiveMe, download the LiveMe app today. It's a great broadcasting app, #1 broadcasting app in the world today.
You can't get it on the Play Store. They
Yeah,
took it off.
Yeah, they took it off the Google Play Store, but there's like a couple of backdoor accounts to go. You know, there's a couple of backdoor places to go through where you don't actually, if you have Android, you don't have to go through the Google Play Store.
Samsung Store has it.
I'm not sure which one it is because I don't have Android. I know that my friend Jugs has Android, so he knows all of the little backdoor ways to get LiveMe outside of the Google Play Store.
What's up, Rat Rides?
But I gotta say, Rep, I've actually thoroughly enjoyed your newest album, The Filthy Masturbator.
Yeah, you know, I had a lot of fun recording that album. I took my time with that one, and with the end result, the production by far of any of the albums that I've ever produced, definitely some of the best production I've put together.
I can definitely hear it, and I can actually hear. I was actually going to say, I can actually hear a little bit of Social Distortion mixed with a little bit of New York Dolls and a little bit of The Clash in there.
Oh yeah, big time influences for me. Social Distortion, No Effects, Green Day.
He just took his Social Distortion shirt off.
The New York Dolls, Sex Pistols.
I love the Sex Pistols.
Pennywise, they all play a very, very big part in the way that I write and the way that I sing.
Oh hell yeah, bro! That's one of the things I actually liked, and I actually kind of got a laugh out of the Diddy song. I started listening to that, and I was just like, what the fuck is this?
So, that's actually how I came up with the idea for the title of the album, The Filthy Masturbator. It was when I recorded that song, I was like, I think that should somehow be like the title track. And so I was originally going to name that The Filthy Masturbator. But I ended up calling it the Diddy song because I performed that song acoustically for many, many years when I was in my band Ridicule. And the rest of the guys never wanted to play that song. They said that's just too offensive, man. We can't do that. And I'm like, okay, so the "Fuck You" song isn't too offensive, but the Diddy song is.
Oh hell yeah! But I was like, I listened to those two back to back, and I was just like, wow, this might be the greatest punk album I've ever heard.
Well, and thank you, man.
And it's kind of sad that you're not actually getting the justice due through your YouTube account.
Well, you know, the good thing is that I've been checking my stats as far as the streams and everything else and the downloads. And the good thing is that everybody that's got Spotify, Napster, Deezer, Tidal, iTunes, iHeartRadio, they are streaming it and downloading it like mad. We've already broke 3,500 streams and downloads, and it's only been out for a couple of weeks. And I've also had a lot of help from the from the dance hip hop sensation from Germany, I Am a Monkey Baby, because we did a couple of songs on that new album that are being showcased on YouTube. And White Lies is one of the songs that he did. And I mean, that one, I think that one's approaching more popularity than the Fuck You song.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt that. Also, I gotta say, I actually liked Burning Candles too. So, and
what do y'all think of SIP?
Ooh.
What's SIP?
Suffer in Peace. Unfortunately, on the streaming apps, that one has not been released, because that was a song that I wrote with Wolfganger, and because of the way that the distribution company is about it, if I had somebody help me write a song, they have to know where to send the royalties, and so they would not let me upload that song onto any of the streaming apps at this point in time. So the only way that people are able to get that one is to actually contact me personally, and I will send them the full version. It's the same thing, like what Monkey Baby and I did. Is he took White Lies, and that's going on his album. He wrote it. That's all his. Burning Candles is mine. I wrote it. It's all mine. And so we just split up the royalties that way between the two songs.
Wow.
So,
okay.
You know, but the song Suffer in Peace is available either via email, or as soon as the CD distribution warehouses open back up and we get through this whole COVID-19 pandemic, then physical CDs will actually be available for purchase, and Suffer in Peace will be on the physical CD.
Okay, that's actually awesome. And
that's awesome.
And it's also on email downloads.
That's awesome.
Okay. Batgirl, got any questions?
I do.
Okay.
What made you start in music?
That started back when I was about 4 years old.
4 years old.
I was a little kid, and I remember seeing Kiss on TV. And
okay.
I was just so captivated and enthralled by watching what Kiss did as a band, and just by watching them on TV, that I knew that that was what I wanted to do, was to write and record music. So Kiss was actually one of the very first influences that I ever had.
Rev Rats Rides wants to know, he was asking more, what do you think of the quality of that song?
As far as myself, I think it's a fantastic song. There was a lot of music that I was sitting on for many years when I started, writing and recording that song, and then Wolfganger sends me the lyrics, and so I had music with no lyrics. He had lyrics with no music, and they just kind of came together, and it created a song.
That's awesome.
Okay. I was going to say, I've also been in that same boat, struggled making music, but it's always therapeutic no matter what. What is the one thing you can actually say to a growing band?
Keep going. A lot of people go, well, what's the big secret?
Oops.
Okay. Just let everybody know we're actually having some technical difficulties, so bear with us.
Kind of figured you were Rev Rats Rides.
Okay, Rats.
He's Reverend Roofking, and Rev just froze. That's what iPhone does, it freezes.
Yeah, just give it a minute.
There we go.
So
okay,
there we go.
All right, so what I tell to any of the young musicians is just keep out there, just keep doing it, because and book shows everywhere that you can. Make sure that you have time to to play shows and keep your name out there, to build that following, because I think it's harder nowadays for a young artist to make it than it is for us old timers, you know.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was pretty much a crapshoot for the old timers. And I'm a classic story of one of those that, you know, still out there doing it, just never broke that big plane yet. So, you know, and that happens. But the thing is that if you really love what you do, if you really love writing and playing music, then you just keep doing it, and you find any platform that you can to get your music out there.
Oh, yeah.
And
There's a lot of good bands like that.
You know, after seeing the success of my last two albums with you know, The Eternal Sunshine of the Perverted Mind and The Lighter Side, and seeing how many streams were coming off of, and, you know, adding up through 150 music markets, you know, there was almost 35,000 streams.
Oh, yeah.
And there was over 10,000 downloads. That's by far the most successful record. And I'm watching this new album. We're only 2 weeks in, and it's already got greater numbers than the last album. So, you know, it just takes time, and you got to keep at it, and you got to keep promoting it. And just like any other business, in order to make money, you got to be willing to spend money. So, you know, you work for a living, you pay your bills and stuff like that. And then whatever money you have left over, and whatever money you make from shows and streams and downloads and everything else, you sink that right back into your music. And I guarantee that you will eventually one day see you will see a comeback on your investment.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Hey, what's up, my friend Mark Taylor?
What's up, Mark? How you doing? And it just takes time. There is no such thing as an overnight sensation. Even Justin Bieber started out at 6 years old singing on YouTube videos. And it took him a long time. You know, I mean, it took him in the neighborhood of about 10 years for people to finally pay attention to him, and for him to sell music the way that he did. And for some people, it happens within that 10-year span. And for others, such as myself, you know, hey, it may never happen. But the thing is that at least I can go to bed every night, and I know I gave it a shot.
Oh, exactly.
And I have no regrets. And that's anything that I tell anybody about chasing your dream. If you chase your dreams and you really go after it, even if
hello,
you
Grandma
don't
D.
succeed, what's up, Grandma D? What's up, Chris? Even if you don't achieve what everybody else considers success, there's still the moral victory. The fact that you gave it a shot, that you did it the best that you can, and, you know, hey, at least you know. And maybe in some way that's just life telling you that, you know, this ain't the direction. Maybe there's something greater waiting for you on the other side.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
You know, I just started recording parts of my new album like just last month, actually. And I was like, you know, I kind of thought about this whole pandemic and everything. And I was like, you know where I think I could actually make my biggest effect. And I've actually put my music out there through like Reverb Nation, places like that. Right. And it's like, just really get a feel out for it. And it's like, from what I've seen so far, I'm actually getting very, very positive results. Like, hey, this might be your cleanest album. But yeah, I went with a very, very deathcore meets new metal approach because I came from the new metal era. Right. Playing in a band called, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but we were based out of Huntington Beach. We were called 20 Dead Flower Children.
The name sounds familiar because I know we've played Huntington Beach a lot. We played down at Surf City Saloon quite a bit. We played at the Liquid Den, the Liquid Lounge, and I still remember at the Liquid Lounge, we opened for Sugar Ray at their CD release party, and we opened for Alien Ant Farm at their CD release party.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
But like I said, I've always taken a punk rock approach to my stuff, and that's kind of where I came from, because you kind of have to have thick skin when you come to a mixing genres type feel. How do you feel about mixing genres to a certain degree and all that?
I think that when it comes to mixing genres, it's how you do it. You know, I mean, I know that a lot of people looked at mixing genres back in the day as it's just something that you don't do, but rock and roll is the start of a mixed genre. It's a mixture. It's a fusion of jazz, rockabilly, blues, and gospel.
Exactly.
And that's how rock and roll was born. It was later on that the guitars started to add distortion. So the idea of mixing genres, I think, is fantastic if you can do it the right way. You know, I mean, if it wasn't for mixing genres, there wouldn't be jazz. There wouldn't be blues. There wouldn't be rock and roll. There wouldn't be heavy metal. There wouldn't be punk rock. There wouldn't be any of the styles that we see today would not exist from mixing genres. I mean, bands like Korn and Pantera and a lot of other bands that started that groove metal genre, that was all a spawn of Anthrax mixing rap and heavy metal.
And not to mention another California-based band. Oh God, the band that did the song "Epic," Faith No More of all bands.
Right.
In the Satanist band.
They are not Satanists; they're just atheists, Jamie.
Well, they're the ones that were thanking the devil for their award.
Well, of course they did that. They did that for shock effect. That was so this way, you know, all the Christians that were sitting there watching the MTV Music Awards, they were just kind of giving them ammunition at their own ignorance. You know, unless you come straight out and say that you are a devout devil worshiper and you have actually practiced the blood oath, you know. Oh, thank you very much, Dorina Leon, otherwise known as Grandma D, guys. Amazing lady right there, amazing chef. And
I agree.
you know, the thing is that a lot of people do things for shock effect. I mean, case in point, look at Slayer when they first started, wearing the black leather and the pentagrams and the upside down crosses. And yet, if you were to actually talk to Tom Araya from Slayer, he is a devout Catholic.
Oh, yeah. And came from a devout Catholic family, too.
And, you know, so a lot of the times people do things for shock effect. And there was something that somebody said a long time ago, when it comes to music and publicity, whether it's positive, negative, or indifferent, any kind of publicity is good publicity. You know, I always give credit to Anthrax for doing that song with Public Enemy, but Anthrax did "I'm the Man" before they ever did "Bring the Noise" with Public Enemy.
I'm the Man. I have that album.
It was that style that Anthrax did of mixing rap and heavy metal that created the groove metal and nu metal genre. And
I love it.
Exactly.
Kind of back to what we were talking about, you know, the idea of mixing styles. You know, if it wasn't for mixing styles, we wouldn't have the music that we have today. And I think that's what creates new genres. Is the idea when
people are creative and create new stuff.
Right. We all have our influences. I mean, I myself, I incorporate a lot of old school heavy metal old school and new age punk rock, along with some elements of thrash and elements of hardcore in there to just kind of round it out. And for me, the reason I do that is those are styles that I feel comfortable and that, you know, I really enjoy playing. I really enjoy
That's awesome.
a lot. And so, you know, the mixture of styles I think is good. It's when people try to go too far and they go like from one extreme to the other, and it's like, well, you're kind of throwing something at somebody a little too quickly. Maybe they're not ready for that yet. You know, kind of ease it in there a little bit. But, you know, again, sometimes maybe that shock is what's needed, because somebody else may come along and go, you know what, I really like that style. I like the direction that that's taken. And then some manager goes, I can do something with this.
Exactly. And I think my buddy Mark Taylor actually brought something up.
He actually said, "Pass the envelope."
Oh, definitely. I definitely actually feel like Frank Zappa did pass that torch to a lot of bands, especially if you listen to like Primus, because you could hear that goofy sound that Zappa had in every Primus album.
Oh, definitely. And Frank Zappa was like the very first person to ever create that style. But when Frank Zappa came out, the world was not ready for Frank Zappa.
Oh,
now,
of course not.
You fast forward over 20 years later, and here comes Primus, and that same generalized style is now.
That's like Marilyn Manson.
Yeah. And then, another one who did that was kind of shocking, but people gravitated towards it, was Jimi Hendrix.
I love Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix was way ahead of his time. I mean, he was playing things back then that musicians still can't play to this day.
Oh, exactly.
Because he's awesome. That wasn't his birth name. His dad changed his name.
But, okay. Hold on, buddy.
I will.
But as let's see, what else do we have? Any other questions? I always said that if I could always put a band together, I would always say, you know what, put Zappa with a Les Claypool. And
well, you know, there is a way that could be done, even though Frank Zappa is no longer around. His kid, Dweezil Zappa, phenomenal guitar player. And I think I would love to see Dweezil Zappa on guitar, Les Claypool on bass, Anthony Kiedis on vocals, and then either Dave Grohl or Chad Smith on drums.
I love Chad Smith.
I was also going to...
That'd be a hell of a super group.
If you could do one song with any music artist, who would it be?
Say that again, I'm sorry?
I said if you could do a song with anybody, who would it be?
Pretty much a lot of the artists that I've done songs with, I've gotten to do that. I've gotten to write songs with a lot of great musicians. Of the ones that I have not gotten to write with yet, I would love to sit down with Kerry King of Slayer and write a song.
Oh.
How do you feel about losing Derek Jones, a great guitar player in metal history?
You know, I don't know if there's words that you can put on that, because the sad thing is that there's going to be a lot of people that when it comes to Derek Jones, they're going to be like, who? And it's like, dude,
most people don't even know who his name was.
Right. People don't even know what his name was. Then they go, oh, is that guy associated with this band? And it's like, dude, okay. When you lose a fantastic musician like that, and especially so abruptly and so shockingly. It's a difficult thing, and especially when you think about, you know, he was just starting to really, you know, make a serious name for himself. It's like, wow, you know, and I've seen that happen with musicians, you know, when they're gone before their time. I mean, case in point, we go all the way back. We talked about Jimi Hendrix at the age of 29.
He was 27 when he died.
You know,
he's in the 27 club.
And I mean, you know, but you think about, you know, when that happened in threes, you had Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and Jim Morrison. They were still in their 20s when they died.
27's young.
And that is extremely young to lose your life. And exactly, Falling in Reverse was,
they're amazing.
I mean, they were just starting to hit their peak, and for, you know, and that was the same thing when Dennis Williams died from Drowning Pool.
Dave Williams.
Drowning Pool just had a #1 rock song in America, and all of a sudden Dennis Williams is gone from us.
That was sucked.
And
I love that song.
Oh yeah. What the sad thing is about Derek Jones is that fantastic guitar player. There is no doubt. But unfortunately, I feel that as time progresses on, his death is going to be overshadowed because of that of Neil Peart, Kenny Rogers, and, you know, a lot of the greats that we've lost this year. And he will just be another one that is overlooked. Pretty much kind of like the same thing that happened with Dennis Williams. You know, that same year that Dennis Williams died, Johnny Cash died. And
Love
John Ritter died. And, you know, so people kind of forgot about Dennis Williams passing away.
Oh, yeah.
So,
but yeah, I also remember, like, you know, me coming up in the California scene back in the late 90s. I remember all of the new metal bands. We would all hang out with each other. Even Korn, when they would actually come out to shows, the smaller venue shows, and they would just disguise themselves. And I was like, when I heard Chester Bennington passed away, I was like, dude, I remember all of us kind of actually sitting there thinking like, dude, these guys used to show up for our shows. We came to their shows. We supported each other no matter what, because we knew we were an odd duck in the room.
Right.
And we knew we had to stick together to actually be a really tight group of musicians.
Well, that's the same thing for me was the loss of Steve Soto. For those that don't know who Steve Soto is, he was one of the original founding members of the Adolescents. He was the original founding bass player for Agent Orange. And he was also a part of Social Distortion for a brief period.
Love Social Distortion.
And Steve Soto is, I mean, in the Southern California punk rock scene is a true icon, and was a very good friend of mine. And when he passed away, it was like, there goes some of our nostalgia, because Steve Soto was a part of the first wave of Southern California punk rock.
Oh yeah.
And to see, I mean, he is a major reason as to the creation of the surf punk scene that we have in Huntington Beach and Long Beach and Oxnard, and, you know, where the term nardcore came from was Steve Soto. And
that's awesome.
When he passed away, it was like, for all of us, it was a huge hit. But for many people around the rest of the world, they're probably like, who was that? But yet many people have no idea how big of a part he had in creating music as we know it today.
Exactly.
Yep.
Like, I even remember hearing that name, and I was just like, dude, you know, you're absolutely right. He was the guy that was actually big into the nardcore stuff.
Yeah.
And Matter of fact, if I remember right, there was a brief period in time where he was actually a part of, I want to say all, like early all.
You know, and he did a short stint with all, and then they went back to being the Descendants. And you know, then Steve Soto went back and he was doing the Adolescents, and you know, doing you know, he would go back to doing like reunion shows with Agent Orange. He had his own like little Southern California punk rock super group. And I mean, and he's just an excellent all around musician. He was more than just a bass player. He was a guitar player. He was a drummer. He was a producer. He helped to create a lot of the independent labels and helped a lot of the independent labels get off the ground. I mean, if it wasn't for Steve Soto, Epitaph Records never would have gotten off the ground.
That's a good record label.
There'd be no Nitro Records. You know, I mean, without Epitaph, there's no Nitro Records. There's no Fat Records.
Epitaph has great A Day to Remember.
You know, Epitaph, you know, I love the story behind Epitaph. You know, that was Brett Gurewitz from Bad Religion. Started that in his father's garage. And they were just kind of looking at a tombstone in his father's garage. And they were talking about, hey, what's that written on the tombstone right there? And Brett goes, well, that's what's called an epitaph. And that was the birth of Epitaph Records.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I've heard that story a few different times, but I was never familiar on how the whole story itself that came from the actual tombstone.
Yeah, it was. Now, whether that's 100% true or not, the one thing that is that Brett Gurewitz started that in his father's garage. And now today they employ over 3,500 people, and they have more. Dude, they've got more bands than you can shake a stick at, and they are the single most successful independent label on the face of the planet.
Oh yeah, exactly. But when you think of Bad Religion, I've always kind of liked Bad Religion. But I've always thought they were actually kind of misunderstood. Like, I think a lot of people actually say, like, they're not my kind of music and all that kind of stuff. But I've always kind of looked at them like, dude, they're always going to be a little bit different. And I think it is because of Brad Gurewitz.
He was their main music writer. It was Greg Hetson that were responsible for writing a lot of the and Jay Bentley, of course, were responsible for all of the music writing of Bad Religion. But it was Greg Graffin that brought the lyrics and the vocals. You know, a lot of people didn't know that Greg Graffin did all of his own backing vocals and harmonies.
Falling in Reverse is on Epitaph Records.
Yep.
But
A Day to Remember used to be on that record label. They're on the same one as Panic at the Disco right now.
There was a lot of bands that were No Effect started on Epitaph Records.
Oh yeah.
The Offspring, Parkway Drive, Records. Bring Me the Horizon, Rancid, Bad Religion. Well, that's a good record. They got a lot of good people.
Oh yeah.
Sleeping with Sirens.
And you know, you go before Epitaph Records, there was SST and Posh Boy Records. You know, Posh Boy Records is where Social Distortion got their start.
I was gonna say Social Distortion was SST way back in that era.
Yeah,
No Effects is nasty.
Their very first Social Distortion's very first record that had 1945 and Under My Thumb was done on Posh Boy along with Mommy's Little Monster.
Oh yeah.
And then I can't remember which one it was they did with SST, and then they signed to a major record label. I want to say it was Columbia, but I'm not 100% on who their major label was when they did their self-titled.
Yeah. But like I said, when I was coming up in the late 90s, I always looked at the birth of Roadrunner as being one of the big labels that actually just came out of fucking nowhere.
What about?
I was gonna say, what label do you think is gonna be the next one to have the big comeuppance?
Of the independent labels, I would say the one to look out for, because they're signing a bunch of bands right now, is Felony Records. Felony Records is signing a lot of really good punk rock bands, and Felony Records currently has one of my friends' bands. They're called Sick Waiting. They're out of San Diego, California. They produced an album back in 2012 called Derailer. And they got a new album out, and Felony Records has gotten behind them a lot, and I hope to see, maybe it's more of me just being a little biased because it's my friend's band and it's my friend's label, but if they don't make it, then I would probably say Nuclear Blast.
Ooh, that's a strong one, because Nuclear Blast has always gone back and forth with artists, and they're always just drawing something new. And I looked at how they exploded with the band Ginger, of all bands.
Yes.
And I was just like, that band literally just came out of nowhere. And I know they've got like OTEP, Cold Chamber, and a bunch of other bands that I've actually been friends with in the past. So I'm always kind of looking at their lineup, and it's always like, I think them being the way they are, I think I could definitely see them exploding the way they are now.
I see them, I would say, as far as when it comes to punk rock, Nitro Records and Fat Records always bring some really great punk rock bands. When it comes to heavy metal, I think that Nuclear Blast always has a way of finding really good talent. And like you just brought up, Ginger is one of the more talented bands out there that they have definitely earned their spot, and they have really impressed not just me but everybody in my household. My wife Jane Doe is actually the one that turned me on to Ginger, and I was like, wow.
Ginger, I never heard of them before.
I had no idea that was I had no idea that a girl singer could produce a vocalization like that and be able to exploit such a wide range, from the lowest of low growls to the highest of highs, that it's like, she can sing, she can growl, she can scream, she can yell.
What's like that one band I like that's kind of like that, with that black chick?
Oh, God. You're talking about the band with Alexis Brown.
Yeah.
Straight Line Stitch.
That's a great band.
Yeah. I think they're way too underrated, but I think Ginger's going to have the longest stay of anybody.
I think so. I think that
Nuclear Blast and Napalm Records are my favorite. Hi, Evan. This is our friend.
What's up? Yeah, Napalm Records.
What's that one band that he really likes? Not Warlock.
No.
The one that I
Nightwish.
Nightwish.
I got to play with Nightwish and In This Moment at Jerry's Pizza here in Bakersfield.
In This Moment, I like that band.
Yeah, that was a fantastic show. And
we were gonna play with Black Robe Rides up here, but they didn't do it because of the quarantine.
My drummer was so excited when we got to play with In This Moment. I told him, I said, yeah, we opened for them years ago, right before they broke big. We played a show with them at a club called Studio 99. 2 weeks later, they got signed to Century Media Records.
Oh, yeah.
And I start seeing In This Moment
everywhere,
all over the world. And I'm like, we just got to open for them 2 weeks ago. They blew up big.
I was gonna say,
they're pretty dang good.
I was gonna
one of those CDs.
I was gonna say, I think it was the Metal for the Masses that actually helped them out quite a bit.
Oh yeah, oh definitely. And so for my drummer, I mean, his all-time favorite band is In This Moment, and he is just absolutely in love with Maria Brink.
Oh, absolutely
so
gorgeous!
To do that show, he was excited. He was, you know, he was. It was. I think it was the first time I ever seen him get nervous before a show.
Wow.
And I was like, and I told him, I said, hell, for me, it's just another show. You know, that's the way I always treat it. You know,
that's the one year I didn't go to Dirt Fest.
Yeah. But, you know, it's always great having somebody here to sit here and talk music with. But what's next for you, Rev J. Kool?
You know what? I've said it. I've said it a couple of times. I think that this one for me is going to be. This will probably be my final original record. From here, it'll probably be just going back and revisiting tracks from my really early days and digitally remastering a lot of the old school stuff that I did back when I was a teenager, and kind of revamping a lot of those tracks and cleaning everything up and making that sound better so that I can finally get the sound to those records that I was never able to get. And now that I have the studio to do it, I'll take advantage of that.
Yeah.
But with this album, it's like, you know, who knows? At any time I could sit down and next thing you know, I'll write a song and then an album comes from that. But at this point, it's like, you know, I've been doing this for almost 35 years, and I've produced more records than you can shake a stick at. I've shared the stage with more bands than.
What's some of your favorite bands you toured with?
One of my all-time favorite tours that I ever did was a tour with DI. And that was because growing up, Casey Royer was a huge idol of mine. And it was actually because of Casey Royer from DI that I was like, you know what, I really like playing punk rock music. And that's what I want to play. And when I finally landed the Winter Frostbite tour with DI and Guttermouth, it was like, dude, that's awesome.
That's a cool thing.
I was gonna say, I actually remember those guys because I moved out to California in '90. Well, I lived out in California in '93. I moved in with my uncle, and he was always the guy that was actually bringing me to like all the big punk rock stuff. And he was telling me, he's like, I used to listen to Social Distortion in like middle or early middle school, late grade school. That would have been like 92, 93. And he's like, if you like them, you'll like The Clash, you like early Iggy. And I kind of grew up on that. But I also played my uncle actually said, he's like, pick an instrument that you actually really, really want to learn. And I've always kind of been like the odd duck in the swimming pool. And I said, you know what? I saw a bass, and that's kind of how I actually got my start.
Right.
And I was just like, you know, honestly, I just looked at it like 4 strings and a long neck. I was like, God, it kind of reminds me of like a giraffe in a way. And it's just like, you know what?
That's awesome.
And I think me and you have a lot in common because my cousin, and a couple of my best friends, we started a punk rock band that was entitled to my uncle, Uncle John Thompson, who was actually a Marine, that actually went through, what was that horrible, I want to say it was PTSD. And the neighbor actually used to have pink flamingo dolls or whatever the fuck you call them things in their front yard. And he always said, those fuckers are screaming at me. And I was like, I'm going to steal that. I'm going to steal the name of that and actually call mine and my cousin's punk band the Screaming Fucking Flamingos. So,
you know what? I think I remember seeing that name on flyers.
yes. And we actually, my other uncle, he put us on one show in San Diego. I want to say it was at the ice cream shop, not the ice cream shop, but it was the club that everybody used to go to. It had like some ice cream name title to it down there in San Diego, and we actually opened for the Offspring like a week before. I want to say it was a week before that Self-Esteem song came out,
right?
And that album came out, and I was just like, that was always our fucking highlight. Then I said, you know, if I could always get that kind of show booked, I might as well come back out to California and try to work my magic again. And I think that's where the whole 20 Dead Flower Children thing came along. So I want to say your music is definitely the coolest, and I'm definitely looking forward to more of it, bro.
Oh, thank you.
And hopefully
the other album.
I always love all the shows that I did with DI, because it goes all the way back to when I was a teenager. And I still remember one of the first times that we opened for DI. It was before the Offspring released Smashed.
Yeah.
And we got to share the stage with the Offspring and DI. And then years later, we played with DI and the Vandals. And then, I mean, it was like every time DI came to Bakersfield, we got to open for DI every time they came to Bakersfield.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started, you know, the Winter Frostbite tour comes through, and we played with DI and Guttermouth. The real big one where everything really came together, I was in a band called Box Jumper, and it was a side project because everybody in Ridicule wanted to take a break at the time. So Box Jumper comes together, and Mark DeLeon, who's a real big face here in the Bakersfield scene. He was a touring guitar player for Edema. He was he was Mark Duce for the Mentors when the Mentors got back together for a while. And so Mark hits me up and he says, hey, the Misfits are bringing their 30th anniversary show through Bakersfield. Would you guys like to play the support spot on that? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, all right, I'll book it. So lo and behold, who's touring with the Misfits? DI. And I see Casey Royer, and every time I seen him, you know, we'd always sit there and just have like these, you know, kind of like what we're doing here. We just have these long music discussions and just talking about the Southern California punk rock scene and everything else. And every time I seen Casey Royer, he was always like, my brother. And he'd come up and give me a big old hug, and we'd just sit there and we'd start shooting the shit. And the last time that I seen Casey was when we played with DI at Hurley Skate Park in Fullerton, California.
Oh, God.
We played with them at that show, and that was a blast because while we're playing over on the stage, there's skaters skating around on ramps and stuff.
That's
like
awesome.
That. And it was, I was telling my bass player, I said, man, what would have been really cool is if we would have had smartphones back then.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because we could have videotaped that show, because
it made a DVD.
You know, while we were doing Ridicule's most famous song, the punk rock square dance, we had everybody on skateboards on ramps. I said that would have been cool to capture that and to make a video out of that. And I remember Stretch Armstrong and Hatebreed, Jamie Josta from Hatebreed.
We seen Jamie Josta.
Jamie Josta was the host
He's
for
awesome.
Headbangers Ball. Always have a ton of respect for Jamie Josta, man. Awesome dude right there.
I was also going to say, Jamie Josta, I claim this everywhere I go. He is the originator of metalcore.
I would almost agree with you on that, but I would say that Biohazard kind of started paving that road a little bit. I would say that Hatebreed.
I would actually agree with you on that too,
because I remember the first time I heard Hatebreed, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, God, man, this reminds me of like Biohazard and Bury Your Dead and all of the great hardcore bands that I grew up listening to, Judge, Strife, all of the old straight edge hardcore bands. And
straight edge
was a much heavier style to Hatebreed. And I was like, I thought to myself, I was like, now these guys took hardcore in the direction that I think it needed to be taken.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Hatebreed and all of those old school hardcore bands, there would not be my boys from Vigilante, who are in Las Vegas, Nevada, and Vampiro. The former professional wrestler is their lead singer.
I was going to say, I've known him for fucking years too, because I've been in the wrestling circles too. So.
Right. And I just recently met Vampiro about not even a year ago. Vigilante did their debut show, and on LiveMe, I went ahead and broadcast their debut show in my broadcast. And so to be able to be there at the beginning of that, it's like, it'd be really cool, man. If we see Vigilante take off, I can honestly say, hey, I broadcast their debut show. And, one of my best friends on the face of the planet, Kenny Thumb, he's the bass player, lead singer for years of a band called Rule of Thumb.
Mm-hmm.
So he put back together Rule of Thumb, and then they added Vampiro to the core of that band, and it just really rounded everything out, and really enjoyed the last two shows I've seen them put on, and I'm looking forward to seeing many more from them.
Hello, Alex. Thanks for coming in.
I was actually going to say, I do. And Rule of Thumb, let's not get it twisted. That band was around way before the fucking movie Boondock Saints. So
what was?
Oh yeah.
So
what band was?
The band name Rule of Thumb. So everybody gets that name twisted because, you guys stole that from Boondock Saints. No, absolutely not.
Boondock Saints stole that from them.
Exactly.
Yeah, Rule of Thumb is they are one of the pioneers of bully breed hardcore. And they started it with their anthem song, DFFD, which is Drink, Fuck, Fight, Die. And those are the rules of thumb when you go to a Rule of Thumb show. Mm-hmm. The first rule of thumb is everybody drinks. Second rule of thumb is everybody fucks. Third rule of thumb is everybody fights.
Yep.
And fourth rule of thumb is no matter who you are, no matter how much money you have, no matter what you choose to do in this life, sooner or later, everybody dies. And so that became their anthem, and is even crossed over with Vampiro on vocals as Vigilante. They still keep that song to this day.
Oh, of course. I actually remember I was out in California like 4 or 5 years ago when they were actually doing the Lucha Underground stuff in Boyle Heights. And I actually remember seeing them there with him on vocals. And I was just
awesome.
What the fuck? Like, he actually invited me out because he was trying to get me to wrestle. And I was like, no, I'm retired.
I still remember when, how Vigilante came about was, Kenny moves back to Las Vegas after about a 3-year absence from the Vegas hardcore scene. And he decides he wants to put Rule of Thumb back together, and he gets contacted by a manager, and he goes, hey, we want this guy to come sing for you. And he goes, and Kenny's like, okay, why would I want anybody to come sing for me? A Rule of Thumb's had plenty of success. And they go, well, you might want this guy. And he goes, okay, well, who is it? And he goes, well, have you ever heard of a professional wrestler named Vampiro? And Kenny is like, I vaguely remember that name. I don't really watch a lot of professional wrestling. And so Kenny calls me up and he asks me, he goes, hey, have you ever heard of this guy named Vampiro? And I go, yeah, dude. He was like in WCW and he was in like all pro Japan wrestling, and he was in ECW, and he was in like some of the biggest wrestling promotions on the face of the planet. And he goes, well, he looks like he's going to be our new lead singer. And I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Oh my God.
Let's not forget about CMLL, the fucking Mexican wrestling league down there.
Right. And where he became a Mexican action movie star.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Vampiro and Conan are Vampiro and Conan are to
That sounds funny.
what Arnold Schwarzenegger and Chuck Norris are to us here in the United States.
Except a little bit more stab happy.
Exactly.
Trust me, you don't even have to tell me, because I was actually a part of that WCW scene. So I actually rode with Conan and fucking Vamp. And I was just like, God, I'm going to die with these guys.
Well, I still crack up when Vampiro said that the reason that he left professional wrestling and wanted to get away from that was because of some of the health problems that he was having. And he wanted to get away from the fighting and the violence and stuff like that. And Kenny looks at Vampiro and goes, then you joined the wrong band, dude.
Actually, I don't think it was a bad move for him, but I actually really think I'm actually surprised Vampiro didn't have more kids because of that rule of thumb.
Right. Yeah, it's I'm stoked to see those guys are, I'm waiting for this whole COVID-19 thing to be done, because right before they put that deal out there where they shut down the casinos and bars throughout the state of Nevada, we were going to take my daughter out to Vegas for her 21st birthday, and we were going to introduce her to everybody from the guys from Vigilante. And we were going to show her the side of Vegas that we know when we go to Vegas. It's the punk rock and hardcore side, and go to the clubs like the Double
Club
Down,
Apocalypse.
Cheyenne,
You're gonna go to Club Apocalypse with a fist up your nose.
I was gonna say that's the one. Club Apocalypse is the one place that does not get any justice.
It doesn't. Well, I still feel the same way about the Double Down.
Oh, yeah.
Double Down, it's like it's probably one of the smallest venues I've ever played. But what I love about it is that you can get 50 people packed inside there.
Never heard of it.
It looks like an enormous crowd. It's a great place to film a concert for punk rock bands.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to say, Rev, if you ever come out to Michigan, I'll introduce you to a place to play like that. So it's called White's Bar in Saginaw, Michigan. So
it's a hole in the ball.
Always love this.
That's where Brights played.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite thing is I still love the small venues because it's so intimate. And, you get to hang out with everybody and have drinks afterwards. I think that was my favorite. That's always been my favorite part about the punk rock scene is that, we're not playing the massive festivals, and we're not playing the the stadiums and stuff like that. And we're separated by security and security gates and everything else. It's like we get to go to these clubs, we get to play music, and then we get to party with everybody afterwards.
That's why I actually kind of miss oh God, what's that punk rock bar? CBGB's. I actually really start missing that place more now because that place was the most intimate place you could ever play in New York.
And I always had that on my bucket list that one day I'm going to play CBGB. And when I heard that it shut down, I was like, oh shit, I guess I'm not going to be able to put that one on my bucket list. But I did get to play 924 Gilman Street in Berkeley, California. So
That's
at least I got one of them.
I was going to say that's one of the legendary punk spots right there.
Oh yeah, dude. 924 Gilman Street. That was where I first saw Primus.
Oh yeah.
In 1990. Amazing show, man. And I didn't see Primus again until I saw him on the farewell tour of Slayer.
Oh yeah.
And if it wasn't for the fact that Slayer put on such a killer show, I thought right up until Slayer went on, man, I was like, man, I think Primus stole the show tonight. And then Slayer went on and just killed it that night at the Forum.
You can never really say that's when somebody tries to show up Slayer, you can never say that Slayer is going to be that one band that's actually going to say, fuck you.
Right. Well, that's why Slayer is the gods, man. That's why I put them on such a high pedestal, man, because every time that I've seen Slayer, I have never been disappointed.
I've never seen Slayer. I almost did.
Oh man. Amazing show. Always an amazing show.
I didn't have the money to go to the show because I just moved and spent all my money.
I was gonna say, and I'll admit I was the dickhead that actually went with our friend from the band Brights, who was actually our first guest on Outside the Music Box. So,
their band's really good.
Yeah.
Really unique.
Right now they're actually based out of Seattle. And I think I'm actually gonna reach out to a brother of mine from, I want to say Salem, Oregon, whose name is Barrick Baseline from, like I said, really cool dude. I think you would actually like him, Rev. And I'm going to have to get you guys in a room together somewhere down the road.
Oh, I think that'd be awesome. And Just Kivo, man, if you see Chad from Newfound Glory, man, you tell him Reverend J. Kool from Ridicule says what's up. I still remember the one and only time that we ever played a show with Newfound Glory was at the Dome here in Bakersfield, California. And we were supposed to get the support spot, and somehow the tour manager screwed it all up. So what the management at the Dome did was they said, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead. We're going to let Newfound Glory and their little entourage of people have the main floor of the Dome, and you guys play the side stage for the after party.
Oh, hell yeah.
And so we played the side stage for the after party for Newfound Glory.
Ugh.
So if I was to ever tell that story in an exaggerated form, Newfound Glory opened for us.
Hey, I was gonna say, I remember those moments with 20 Dead Flower Children because we moved to Huntington Beach out there in '98, but we're original Detroit boys. So guess who was opening up for us back in the day? None other than Taproot. So
right. Dude, the list of bands, I mean, that whether they opened for us, I mean, I still remember back in the, like I said, the early 90s, the Offspring opened for us. You know, Green Day came down to Bakersfield and opened for us. Weezer came here and opened for us.
Love
and,
Weezer.
You know, it's like, and I see all of these bands that are, you know, the biggest bands on the planet. I was like, I remember those guys. And you know, to see where they're at today, and
kind of amazing.
Like I said, it's always been an amazing ride. And some of the other bands that we've gotten to share the stage with some of the lesser known bands like Handsome Devil or Trash Light Vision, the Murder Dolls.
Love the Murder Dolls.
Red Gun Radar, Tiger Army, Authority Zero, the Cottonmouth Kings.
I love the Cottonmouth Kings. I was the front row for their show.
And I love all of these bands. Got to meet these guys, hang out with them. And
Cottonmouth Kings will get you stoned.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh.
I don't do that.
I was gonna say that's an understatement.
I just move in front of their audience.
I'm a 420 advocate, but I don't smoke.
For me,
for me,
I'm the same way.
Something I've really enjoyed. Me, I'm more of an alcoholic. So, but if you hang out, they're going to get you high. You have to smoke.
Oh,
with
of
them.
course.
And it was like, okay, well, if I've got to, and I did. I think I had.
It's like Greg from Mandy Lane in the Lost Highway saying he smoked with what's his face? Was it Aaron Lewis? The guy from Sting.
I don't remember.
Oh yeah, Aaron Lewis is another one.
Ugh.
And let's see. Now, legendary drinkers to party with. I would definitely, Dimebag Darrell's at the top of that list.
Oh, without a shadow, right there.
But there is one that I think could either give Dime a run for his money or could drink Dime under the table, and that's Fat Mike from NoFX.
Actually, I've seen that several freaking times. And, I've actually drank with Fat Mike a couple of times, and I'm like, if I'm sitting there drinking beer with him, I'm perfectly fine because I could sit there and drink beer with anybody.
How about Godric drinking 52 beers in 2 hours?
I drink beer all day long as the day is long, and I will hang with people beer for beer, no problem.
Well, Godric drank 52 beers in like 2 hours the other day while he was live streaming.
I've done that. In fact, I think my record now in a live stream, I drank close to let's see, I think the last I remember counting was 56. I don't remember 57, but so I left off at 56. And but yeah, when it comes to anything else, it's like I won't even touch wine. And whiskey, it's like, yeah, bad things happen when I drink whiskey. But
Jose Cuervo, it'll burn your esophagus.
Oh my God, yeah. But if you drink with Fat Mike, you're not just drinking beer. And there is a reason why that they are called, the Dog Patch Winos. And I think formerly of Guttermouth said it best when it comes to the Dog Patch Winos. The Dog Patch Winos are an elite gentleman's drinking club. They are elite.
Yeah.
And like I said, any one of the Dog Patch Winos would probably give Dime a run for his money if Dime was still here.
Wow.
Oh yeah, exactly. I was gonna say I've seen Vinny drink a few times too. So
oh man.
I was like, I think brother Vinny could have actually drank Dime under the table.
Though I remember we were working building the stage, and Dime and Vinny were back there drinking, and every time they come out with a bottle of Jack Daniels. And
they probably did.
I was kind of watching when they would come out and they're tipping that bottle and they're just drinking it like it's water. And
wow,
like,
that burns.
How do that? And then they'd come out and they'd have another bottle. The reason I knew this is because that bottle would be full. They would drink that one until it's empty. And I mean,
oops.
I drink one bottle and I'm under the table. These guys are drinking.
I've never drank even a couple shots of that.
They're drinking 3 bottles at least, and then they go on stage and put on the show of a lifetime.
I remember, and this is really dating me, but I remember one night I was actually it was us and Slipknot co-headlining a show at the Metropolis in Flint.
You did not.
No.
Liar.
99. Actually, it was 99. I was 18 years old. And I was sitting there drinking with, I pulled off the stage. They were last band up because obviously fucking Slipknot, Roadrunner. Going on to Ozzy, you have to give them the big spot, the last band spot. I remember I was sitting at the bar right after that, sitting there right with little shorty Corey Taylor. And we were sitting there drinking freaking, I think we were starting with Jaeger. Well, they had 2/5 of Jaeger sitting on the table. I bought one. He bought one. I chugged one. Got drunk.
That stuff's the devil.
He started drinking. He was slowing it down a little bit because obviously little guy, little drink syndrome. So basically we went back and forth, and I was just sitting. I sat and sipped the second fifth of Jack, and he was like, I'm not touching Jack. Nope. I said, here, I'll buy your next fifth. And so I said, here, take this Southern Comfort. And he's like, okay, I'll sit there and I'll drink that. Well, horror story right there. We went through, I want to say, half the fucking liquor bottles in the bar. Just sitting there between me and like 10 other guys. And there's probably 100 bottles of liquor that are sitting there. And we drank 50 of those between every one of us. My bandmate actually walks up to me. He's like, how much do you remember last night? I'm like, not very much, except for I remember having a headache this morning. He's like, dude, I'm surprised you did not wind up in a hospital bed or carried out in a body bag. I asked him, I'm like, how much did you have to drink? Or how much did I have to drink? He's like, you drank 7/5 in one night.
I lost sound on Joshua Danger.
Well, I was actually saying I had 7/5 in one night. And I was just like, what the fuck?
I can't hear you. I can't hear Josh.
Hold on. Check. Okay. Well, nightmare story. Yeah. Nightmare story. Short. I had 7/5 gone in one night, and I don't even remember it. So obviously I've got an iron liver somewhere. So any stories like that, Rev J? No.
I can hear you, Josh, just fine.
Okay.
I can't hear Josh.
He asked if you have any stories about getting way too wasted.
Oh my God. Well, I would say probably the most memorable one was at this point, Ridicule had been going for about 5 years. And we were getting ready to release our second album. So we decided that to do this new album, we were going to do a big CD release party right here in Bakersfield at a club right down the street from my house, because within walking distance. And the cool thing is that we can leave all of our equipment there. So we advertised on the local radio station here in Bakersfield on Crab Radio 106.1 FM. And Danny Spanks gave a huge shout out to us and said, hey, Ridicule's releasing their new album. They're having a CD release party right here at Vinny's Bar, blah, blah, blah. And so we're just commencing to partying our asses off. And I'm having one right after the other. And somebody goes, well, here, man, try this. And I go, what's that? And they go, it's Bacardi and Coke. And I was like,
I'll be right back. I gotta pee.
I gotta stay away. I gotta stay away from the regular sodas. So what they do is they pour me a Bacardi and Diet Coke. And that tasted so good. And I kept on drinking those, hammering those back. So by the time we finally took the stage, I don't remember anything after the first song. At some point through that show, I had broke 2 strings on my guitar, and I'm sitting on top of the subwoofer, and I'm screaming at everybody to go fuck themselves. And they're like, come on, Jay, just finish the show. Just finish the show. And I'm like, fuck you guys. I ain't fucking playing this show no more. They're like, come on, Jay, just finish the show. Just finish the show. Fuck you guys. Fuck all you motherfuckers. And I mean, I'm just sitting there. And so finally they had coaxed me into doing the last 2 songs of the set. I knocked those 2 songs out of the set, and I don't remember anything after that. And that pretty much became a rule for us that from that day forward, it's okay to have a couple of drinks before we take the stage, but we keep it within reason. We don't get hammered before we take the stage. Now, after we play a show, then it's, you know, hey, it's a free-for-all, drink as much as you want. But it was because of that CD release party and what a fiasco that ended up being, because yours truly got too hammered to even perform songs. That it was like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. We definitely can't put party. And if Rev J has a sober ride, or if he's within walking distance of the venue, we got to keep him under control.
Oh.
So where the next rule came into place, now we fast forward to about 2009, and we did the CD release for Ridicule's album Stupid Catchy Songs. So once again, we stayed within limits, and we're playing over at Jerry's Pizza. We had a limousine bus come out, and my buddy Bubba, he's working the bartender at Guthrie's Alley Cat. And of course, he makes the greatest Jaeger bombs on the face of the planet. And he also has a twist on a Jaeger bomb that's called a Bubblicious. Now, what's in a Bubblicious? It's the same thing as a Jaeger bomb, only with a splash of Goldschlager.
Yep.
So I had a couple of those before I started the show. We go on, we put on the show, we're selling CDs. Man, we sold out all the CDs we had on our merch booth that night. So we get on the limousine bus, and before I get on the limousine bus, I'm all, hey, I got to go say bye to Bubba real quick before it gets too late. So I go back over to Guthrie's Alley Cat. Now, one of the things about Bubba that I love to death from the world famous Guthrie's Alley Cat in Bakersfield, California, Bubba has never let me pay for a drink once. Every time I go in there, I will go to reach for my wallet, and he'll be like, nah, dude, no. You're Reverend J. Kool. You don't have to pay for beer. You don't have to pay for drinks. So
That's
I have to
cool.
literally force him to take money. Otherwise, he'll just go, no, you don't pay here. So I go back to Guthrie's Alley Cat. I have about 3 or 4 more of the world famous Bubbliciouses. So we get on the limousine bus. We end up at the Red Lion Inn at this club called Odyssey. We're drinking
That is true joint.
And so then we go from Odyssey, and we end up out on the outskirts of Bakersfield at my bass player Chris Rock's friend's bar. God rest his soul. We end up out of this place called Vi's Cocktails. So somebody wants to introduce me to this drink called liquid cocaine.
Oh, shit.
Well, I thought that they were offering me the real liquid cocaine. I was like, fuck yeah, man. Put that shit in a fucking vial, man. Let's fucking slam that shit. And they're like, no, Rev, no, the drink. And I'm telling Jania, I mean, here we are, we're fucking 2 recovering drug addicts. And the instant we hear the word cocaine, we're like, fuck yeah, let's do some coke.
Oh, shit.
So I'm telling her, call up one of your old connects. Let's see if we can get some liquid cocaine out here at the bar.
Oh,
and
God.
it wasn't until they finally go, oh, man, Rev J's too fucking wasted, man. He's not understanding what we're doing here. And, I mean, they're about ready to watch Rev J go off the deep end. And they're going, no, the drink, liquid cocaine. And I was like, oh. And so I go back outside, and I let Janie know. I go, scratch that about calling the dealer. And so we go ahead, we try this drink, and I mean, Janie and I, we get so wasted, we had to call our oldest daughter to come pick us up. And we're calling her at 4:00 in the morning. And it was the first time in my life that I watched our kid become the parent, and we became the kids. Because she's sitting there scolding us about how much we had to drink and that we couldn't find our own way home and that she had to come out and pick us up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And what the hell were we thinking? And I'm looking over at my wife and I'm going, she's scolding us like what we used to do to her.
Oh, so you were the guy that was
in the back. Next thing I know, I get, there's a certain point that I get to when I drink too much that I will start doing different impersonations. And of course, one of my favorite drunk impersonations to do is Cheese from Home of the Imaginary Friends, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. I don't know how many people remember that cartoon. But there was a character called Cheese. And so I started doing Cheese, and I'm screaming my head off in the back seat of the car. And finally, my daughter just kicks us both out. And she says, next time you two get too wasted, do not call me again. We're like, okay, looks like we pissed off our daughter.
So how do you guys feel about Pop Punk's Not Dead tour with New Found Glory and Simple Plan that might happen either in September or August or next year?
I love it. You know what? Here's one of the things. There's a lot of people that I grew up with that they don't like pop punk. They don't think that pop punk is punk rock. Personally, I love it. I love New Found Glory. I love Simple Plan. I've gotten to play with both of those bands. Gotten to share the stage with them, and in doing shows with these guys, man, they're awesome people. And not only that, I think that a lot of the songs that they write are really cool. I think the New Found Glory and Simple Plan going out there and doing a tour to kind of try to revitalize pop punk, I think is awesome. And I hope that it's a success. And hey, if they want Reverend J. Kool to open that tour with them, I'll do it. Hell yeah.
Yep.
I love
Really? So I can ask Chad Gilbert.
Yes, I love pop punk. I think that it's one of the more underrated styles of music because it was more commercialized.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the old school punk rockers, they're like, no, I don't like it. I think it's shit, blah, blah, blah. I like it.
I was going to say...
name off the bands, like Unwritten Law, MXPX.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, No Use for a Name.
It's Knuckle Punk, not Knuckle Punk.
No Use for a Name. They were playing pop punk before Green Day and New Found Glory was even changing their diapers. But, and then you've got bands like, where pop punk originates from, they're heavily influenced by bands like the Queers. The Ramones,
Josh has their album.
And to me, it's like, if somebody was to say, well, I don't like pop punk, it's like, okay, but you like the Queers, right? Well, yeah. You like the Descendants, right? Well, yeah. You like the
They're pop punk, right? Dude.
They're the ones that influenced pop punk. And I love MXPX, dude. Fucking Mike, one of the greatest guys I've ever met. I'm not a real big fan of, the idea of Christian music or anything like that. And sometimes Mike Herrera has a tendency to talk a little bit about that. But other than that, you know what? Hey, I love MXPX's music. I think Mike is a really, really good dude. And I really miss Adrian and Yuri. I know that Mike is continuing MXPX without Adrian and Yuri on the road. And whenever MXPX produces a new album, he's still recording with Yuri and Adrian, but really enjoy MXPX's music. Still my all-time favorite song by MXPX is Move to Bremerton. I think that's their greatest song. And that one's not even on the radio.
I was going to say, I think that's actually one of the most underrated songs of all time.
I still remember opening
Tom and Yuri still tour with the band.
Oh, do they?
Huh. What's the band? What's your most favorite band?
Say that again.
What's your most favorite band
of all time?
Yep.
Slayer.
Choice.
Ooh.
Hands down.
Excellent choice.
That's why I refer to Slayer as the gods.
Slayer. That's my brother literally likes Slayer too.
I mean, Slayer.
That's where I got into that kind of music was from hanging out with my brother.
Slayer is my all-time favorite.
He was a big Misfits fan too.
And I mean, it was when I first started listening to music. I grew up listening to like Kiss, Cheap Trick, Ozzy Osbourne.
My brother never liked Kiss
and that stuff. And when I came across Slayer, they had just released Rain and Blood.
Ooh.
And I absolutely fell in love with that album. And it was because of Slayer that I discovered bands like Metallica. And then I discovered bands like the Misfits, the Exploited, GBH. And that's pretty much how I got introduced to punk rock.
My brother's the reason I like Dead Milkmen.
Oh, God. Oh.
Oh. I went down a wormhole one day and just started downloading everything I could possibly find from them so I could listen to it to see if I liked any more of their songs.
Exactly. I mean, it's like with I mean, that's why I always refer to Slayer as the god.
Retards to the zoo, bitch and Camaro.
I have my favorite artists. I have my idols and stuff like that. Oh hell yeah, Undisputed Attitude. I have the what do you call that? The limited edition copy where they did their own rendition of Dr. No's Watch It Burn, as well as Mr. Freeze. And also on that, they did their rendition of Sick Boy by GBH. And if you were to go out and search for Undisputed Attitude today, Mr. Freeze would be on there. Sick Boys might be on there from GBH, but you will not find their rendition of Watch It Burn by Dr. No.
Yeah.
Unless it's on Spotify.
Unless it's on the original format.
It might be on there, but I seriously doubt it. When I bought that, it was a oh god, what do they call it? It was a Japanese bootleg. And when I heard them do their rendition of Watch It Burn by Dr. No, I was like, damn, man, they did this song with some justice, because I've heard so many bands cover Watch It Burn by Dr. No. And everybody kind of does their own thing with it, but somewhere along the way, they either fuck up the lyrics or they fuck up the music or whatever. And when Slayer did Watch It Burn, I was like, damn, man, they nailed it and made it their own. And they said that the reason that they chose to do that song was because songs like Mr. Freeze and Watch It Burn kind of sound like Slayer songs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was also the same reason why they did Richard Hung Himself.
And, who sings Richard Hung Himself?
By D.I. That was actually D.I. that did Spiritual Law and Richard Hung Himself. And,
yeah, I was gonna say they were,
and that's my homie right there, Casey Royer.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say they were the ones that did the song on Suburban, the 1983 movie.
Always see those guys. You know, any chance I ever get.
I love Punk Rock Girl by the Dead Milkmen.
You know, anytime that I get to talk about Casey Royer and D.I., love talking about that, because You know, like I said, for myself, Casey Royer was like the kind of punk rock icon that I'd like to be. Always accessible, always willing to talk to people. And it doesn't matter whether I'm one of those that gets forgotten about in years to come or somebody that's forever remembered. You know, the one thing is that if I'm forever remembered is that guy that always talks to everybody. And that's what I loved about Casey Royer and still love about him to this day. He talks to everybody. He always makes time for the fans.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the more celebrities could learn something from somebody like Casey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, more celebrities can learn from people like Kerry King and Tom Araya, and learn from the guys that are awesome, like Jay Bentley from Bad Religion. Jay Bentley from Bad Religion. At the end of every Bad Religion show, Jay Bentley still jumps down off the stage and shakes hands with everybody that he can and thanks everybody for coming out to the show.
That's awesome.
It doesn't matter if they've got to be somewhere in the next 5 hours. He's like, hey, I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to say hi to everybody.
I remember when New Found Glory started out in their self-titled tour, hanging out with them in the back of the venue, just talking. This was in the early 2000s.
Well, New Found Glory is another band that's always done that. When we did that show with New Found Glory at the Dome here in Bakersfield, Jordan was out there while the rest of the bands were playing and they were opening, and Jordan was out there just walking amongst the crowd, and he was taking pictures with everybody and shaking hands and thanking everybody for coming out to the show. And when people realized, oh my God, that's Jordan, and they were like, can we get a picture? And he's like, yeah, take a picture, you know. And you know, that's why I like the guys from New Found Glory. And I still remember, the reason I remember Chad was because when we did our little after party show, they shut us down, and Chad comes out and he says, hey, was that you guys playing? And I go, yeah, but your tour manager shut us down after we got about 6 songs in. He goes, dude, you guys are badass. And I was like, thanks, man. And we sat there and shot the shit for a little bit and had drinks with the guys from New Found Glory.
That's awesome.
And, you know, and they let us know, hey, if it was their choice, they'd love to hang out in the bar backstage and hang out and have drinks. And I said, well, hell, that's what we wanted to do. And they said, well, hell, man, the next time we come through, we'll make sure we set something like that up. And
Campbell said he's seen that band like over 30 times.
I've only seen New Found Glory twice. The first time I seen them was I think it was called the Pop's Dead tour or something like that, or Pop Sucks. Yep. And it was New Found Glory, Green Day, and Blink-182.
Ooh.
And that was an amazing show. And I love that show because I still remember Green Day. They, right in the middle of their show, they brought up people from the audience. They said, okay, we need a guitar player. And they brought up a kid, and, you know, he's showing them these 3 chords and stuff like that. Then they got another kid behind the drums. They got somebody else on the bass. They showed them how to play the songs. And so next thing you know, people from the audience at random, Pop Disaster Tour, that's what it was. Thank you. They picked people out of random and played a Green Day song with Green Day.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I thought that was the coolest thing. And I remember the greatest thing I remember about that show was the encore that Green Day did. They did like a couple of encores, and then finally all the lights go out, and Billy Joe Armstrong comes out by himself, and he's playing the guitar, and he's doing Time of Your Life, and that was their closer for the night.
Time of Your Life. Oh, I like that song.
And I would say it was probably one of the most awesome shows And I was still one of the great shows that I remember. And well, I don't, now maybe that was other venues, but when they came here to Bakersfield, it was only Newfound Glory, Blink-182, and Green Day. I didn't see Jimmy Eat World at that show. In fact, I didn't see Jimmy Eat World until about a year after that tour. And that was when we opened for them again at the Dome here in Bakersfield. And that was another band. They were a one-hit wonder, but they had more epic songs than a lot of bands that I've listened to. It's like, dude, The Middle was just one of their great songs. And I don't even think it was their best song on the album.
I kind of like that song. I think that's the only song I know by that band.
It was a great song, but to me, it wasn't the best song on the album. And it was sad that that was the only hit that they had, because I thought that Jimmy Eat World was a great band. It's possible, because, well, hell, bands do that all the time. I still remember the first leg of Slayer's farewell tour. The leg that I got to see on the very beginning of the farewell tour, it was Behemoth, Anthrax, Testament, Lamb of God, and Slayer.
Ooh, Testament.
Halfway through that tour, Behemoth wasn't on the tour, and it was Napalm Death.
I seen Lamb of God.
Lamb of God's another amazing band.
They're good live.
They are.
They opened for Slipknot.
I was going to say,
Lamb of God, this is what I get a kick out of. Every time I've seen Lamb of God, they've opened for Slayer.
Wow.
Really? They opened for Slipknot when I seen Slipknot. They're a little heavy.
I was going to say, I've always been a fan of...
I love Lamb of God, dude. Probably one of the most amazing bands I've seen live. And their CDs do not do them justice.
Who?
Oh.
Lamb of God?
Lamb of God.
Yeah.
And when I seen Slayer, I actually saw Slayer's final show at the LA Forum.
Ooh.
And that was
I seen Queens of the Stone Age before they were super big. They opened for Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I'll be right back, guys. I gotta use the restroom real quick.
Gotta evacuate the lizard.
Okay. I was gonna say, I've always been a fan of Lamb of God. And I think that was always one of the bands that I looked at like, dude, they're so heavy.
I know, they're really heavy. That's what I was going to say. They're really heavy.
But if you actually, Jamie, if you listen to their newest song, Memento Mori, you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Why did they change their sound?
A little bit. They got a new drummer. But I actually think he's actually a better drummer than, I want to say Chris Adler. I know it's one of the Adler brothers. I can't remember which one it was, but I think they're really, really different now.
I really don't remember much about seeing Queens of the Stone Age, really.
Yeah, we know, Kevo. It's been good having you on, brother.
How about black metal?
Let's see. When it comes to black metal, are we talking Norwegian black metal or straight black metal?
All black metal.
Behemoth is the greatest fucking band I've ever seen live. I was not even that big of a Behemoth fan until I seen them live, and I was like, dude, their CDs do not do them justice.
Oh,
They are
absolutely not.
absolutely fantastic live.
I was gonna say absolutely not. I'm like I've been a fan of theirs for a while, even though I'm just a random nutcase for music. So, but I actually think they're actually going to be the next Slayer. I was gonna say, Rev, can you hear me? No.
What did he say?
Hey, Jamie.
I can hear him.
Huh? Hold on, I might have to do something here.
And of course,
Yeah.
another great Norwegian black metal band that I enjoy. I love Gorgoroth.
Amazingly epic.
My cousin's son likes black metal.
But I actually feel like the next band that's actually going to be a big break, I think, is actually going to be Code Orange.
I
Never heard of
with
them.
Evo. No one is going to be the next Slayer.
Nope.
There is not going to be a next Slayer. I know that there is rumor right now that the bass player from Pantera, Rex, Phil Anselmo, Gary Holt, and Kerry King are going to get together and form a super group.
Ooh, that would be a super group.
Yes.
I was going to say, Phil.
That's rumor right now.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be the next Ramones. The Ramones are the Ramones.
I was going to say, I do kind of agree with that. Not unless I actually decide to start the Screaming Flamingos again.
You can't be the Ramones because the Ramones are the Ramones.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I feel the same way. There is no such thing as the next Ramones. There's only one Ramones, and that is the Ramones.
Yep, I totally agree.
Yeah.
So, that being said, Jamie, are you going to help him plug some stuff? Rev J, it's been good having you on. Is there anything else you'd like to plug?
Like me.
Hey,
Well,
Jamie,
I gotta get ready for my broadcast here in a little bit. But before I go, would you guys like me to perform a couple songs?
If you want to.
Sure.
All right. Let's do a couple off of my latest album before I get out of here. And here's one off of my latest album, The Filthy Masturbator. This song's is called Play All Night. Hopefully it comes through okay. It does pretty good on
sounds good here on my end.
Okay, we'll see how it comes through on this. Get the party started, the band's all here. Got the whiskey and I got the beer. Now it's time to go and rock the stage. Come on everybody, let's go insane. I'm gonna play all night. I'm gonna play all night. I'm gonna drink fucking fight. I'm gonna play all night. Taking the bartender so fucking hot. Got big tits and I got a hard cock. Come on everybody and raise your glass. Come on everybody and show me your ass. I'm gonna play all night. I'm gonna play all night. I'm gonna drink fucking wine. I'm gonna play all night.
Dun, 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 dun.
Good job.
All right, there we go.
Hell yeah. Great job, bro.
Thank you. And then let's see. You really like the Diddy song, so now I can hear you.
Yeah, there we go.
Follow the likes, follow the shares. Oh wait, I'm not on LiveMe.
I was gonna say you're more than
Subscribe
welcome
to this
say
channel.
subscribe to this channel because we could definitely use you on more often.
Hit the
hell
like
yeah.
if you like this
Anytime you
broadcast.
have the link, man. I wouldn't mind doing this, man. I hope everybody else is able to hear everything okay. So here's one off of my latest album, The Filthy Masturbator. And it happens to be Joshua Danger's favorite song on the album. This song's called The Diddy Song. Well, one night I was thinking to myself, then to myself, and I played with myself. Next thing you know, a song came to mind. I don't know how and I don't know why. I was jacking off when I wrote the song. Come on everybody and sing along. I was jacking off when I wrote the song. Come on everybody and sing along. Well, it felt so awfully good to have accomplished what I thought I should. Came together like a creamy dessert. Talk about the song, you dirty pervert. I was jacking off when I wrote the song. Come on everybody and sing along. I was jacking off when I wrote the song. Come on everybody and sing along. I was masturbating when I wrote this song. So exhilarating, playing with my tongue. I was masturbating when I wrote this song. So exhilarating, playing with my tongue. Because you can't say penis. Well, I know it went on for a while, but I hope the song makes you smile. Feels so good, feels so awfully good to have accomplished what I thought I should. I was jacking off when I wrote the song. Come on, everybody, and sing along. I was jacking off when I wrote the song. Come on, everybody, and sing along. I was masturbating when I wrote this song. So exhilarating, playing with my tongue. I was masturbating, playing with this song. So exhilarating, playing with my tongue. Because you can't say penis. I was jacking off when I wrote the song. Come on everybody and sing along. I was jacking off when I wrote the song. Come on everybody and sing along. When I wrote the song, I was jacking off. I was jacking off when I wrote the song. I was jacking off when I wrote this song.
Oh,
And that's the Diddy song.
That's
by the way,
awesome. I like that.
I was gonna say I'm gonna have to learn that song so I can jam it with you one of these days. So,
and then of course, the #1 song by Reverend J. Kool of all time, still, and always in my broadcast with this one. So if you guys don't have the LiveMe app, which I know many people that are in here do, but for those of you that don't download the LiveMe app today, check out Reverend J. Kool. check out my music, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, or you can check it out right here on YouTube.
There's a link to his Spotify in the description.
Yes, sir.
And
check his music
so here
out.
we go.
Buddy Evan said it was
before I
awesome.
introduce this song, this is the world's next national anthem. This is a national anthem that you can stand for, sit for, kneel for. You can take off your hat. You can put on your hat. You can put your hand over your heart. You can give a salute. But everybody knows that what I want to see through this next song, and hopefully I can get away with this here on YouTube, I want to see that very special Reverend J. Kool one-fingered salute. This song, we'll scream it together, guys. Fuck you! Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic that stands against hypocrisy. Got a two-word phrase that speaks of the truth, a lovely little phrase that says fuck you. I got my pain on this day. I got my pain, this is what we gotta say. I got my pain, now we wrote this song today. I got my pain, this is what we're gonna say. Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Everything you're saying, dude, you're such a hypocrite. So I'm saying to suck my motherfucking dick. Saying what you want, you can call me unoriginal. This motherfucker, well, I ain't individual. I got my band and we're playing on the stage. I got my band, this is what we gotta say. I got my band and we wrote this song today. I got my band, this is what we're gonna say. Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! I don't speak Spanish and I don't speak German. Don't speak French and I don't speak Arabian. I speak in English, I don't speak in Japanese. So I hope you understand when I say suck these! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! And did I leave anything out? In case I did, fuck you! Love that song.
Thanks for being
Follow
on.
the lights, guys. Follow everybody, guys. Make sure. I want to thank Batgirljamie. I want to thank Joshua Danger for having me in here tonight, guys. So amazing. And I want to thank everybody for all of their input in the chat tonight. And it was definitely my pleasure and nothing less than an honor.
Well, it's been great having you
Thanks
on, my
everybody
brother.
for watching.
Thank you very much, man.
I appreciate you
My
all, and I
pleasure, man.
appreciate you for
Thank
coming on.
And also, I'm actually going to be doing some cheap plugging for my own shit. So please hit me up.
By all means. That's what I do in my broadcast on LiveMe. It's like I play a bunch of other bands' music, but then I sit there and I sprinkle in some Reverend J. Kool originals in there. So this way, hey, buy my music.
Hell yeah. Go buy his music. You can find it everywhere.
And definitely listen to it on Spotify.
And also, I might be doing another punk rock project. I actually might be redoing my cover band called, what's it called, Jamie? The
Bitchin'
Camaros. Have a look out for that. Hopefully, we might actually add some of Rev J. Kool stuff to our shows. So that way we can actually get him a little bit extra money and play.
I tell you what, it always helps, man. It all helps.
So that being said, it's been great having you on, Rev J.
Thank you very much, Joshua Danger.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
It was
so
awesome.
Glad to be here. And everybody else, guys, you have a great night. As I always give Reverend J. Kool salute. I'll let everybody know at the end of any time I do anything, I always say, keep it punk rock. When I tell you to keep it punk rock, I'm telling you to remember three things. Number one, have faith. treat people how you want to be treated. Always be yourself. And as my
Exactly.
buddy 420 artist
My
says,
model for life.
you are all beautiful, you are all important, and you are all loved. Don't you ever forget that, not for 1 second, not for 1 moment. That's what I'm saying when I say keep it punk rock. I'm saying have faith, treat people how you want to be treated. Always be yourself. You are all beautiful, you are all loved, you are all important.
And I was actually going to say, be like Bill and Ted and be good to each other.
That's
Exactly.
another one, man. Hey, and in the words of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, be excellent to each other and party on, dude.
Rock on.
There you go.
All right.
Have a great night, guys. I'm gonna go.
You
gonna
too.
Go start spamming.
Don't forget to hit the
shameless
subscribe
plugs.
button and hit the bell so you get notified every time we go live. Give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you in our next live stream. And don't forget to check out our separate channels. Mine's Batgirljamie, and his is JoshuaDangerExp.
Yep.
And don't forget to follow Rev J Kool on LiveMe.
All right, guys.
Where he
Have a
plays
great night
lots
again.
of
Thank you so much
music.
for having me.
Good night.
Have a good night.
You too, brother.
All right, Joshua. Thanks for watching, guys. We love you all.
And also go check out my music on ReverbNation.com.
And go check
The Black
out.
channel.
Go check out Joshua Danger's channel.
I've
for
got
new
tons
music.
of new content. I was going to say I've got tons of new content coming up. And Batgirl, what else do you have that you would like to add?
Okay. I didn't do my boxing charm, but I'll be doing it when I get a new one. And I'll be doing Ipsy when I get a new one. And I'll be doing another Get Batty on here soon. And we're going to be doing an episodic breakdown real soon on here. And we'll probably each be doing like a little like chit-chatty video tomorrow. Or a Sunday.
And I was going to say sometime next week on this channel, I'm going to go through my my equipment breakdown for how I recorded my newest album.
Yep.
So have a great day.
We're going to
And
get
remember,
out. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you all. Thanks for watching.
And remember, stay awesome, everybody.
And remember, stay positive. Hashtag stay positive. Always. Love ya. Thanks for watching. And we are